for my garbage person of the week, I have, it's gonna seem a little bit broad. It's humans. It's like we have this image, and the image is the idea that we've gotten more advanced, but I'm gonna prove that it hasn't really worked out in non-physical ways. I have an example person, but the reason it's humanity is that I don't really care about the individual in this video. I don't like demonizing individuals. And the problem is certainly not just one person, as you're going to see. Garbagey has now been fed. So take a look at this video. And it has Donnie O'Sullivan of, I believe, CNN, a CNN reporter, talking to Trump supporters about the misinformation they believe in, doing live fact checking. So take a look as a biker for Trump is live fact checked about one of the memes that he liked that hurt Biden.
Hey, well, this is fact checked. It's wrong because it's taken out of context. Like when Joe Biden fell asleep during a live interview on television.
He claimed that he fell asleep. I think that was an edited one, right?
I didn't think it was. It looked pretty live to me with no cuts in it.
Joining us live this morning from New York. Hey, good morning. Wake up.
Yes.
Wake up.
I can't hear anything.
Okay. This is your wake up call, Harry.
Is this the video that you were talking about?
Could be, yeah.
Biden falling asleep.
Should I watch it really quick?
Sure. So
This is Washington Post.
So an article there is saying that it was faked, but it looked real, right? I mean, it looked real.
Well, I mean, I definitely wouldn't doubt that it would happen.
Even if it is fake, does it change your opinion of Biden?
God, no. You got to sift through it. I missed that one, but it was a good laugh. It was a really good laugh, and like I said, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, so yeah, he's not the garbage person. It's that how much better are the vast majority of Americans that they wouldn't have responded in multiple of the ways that he just did. I'll break down some of them, but Brett, it's that like, what's the point of fact checking when they don't care if it's true or not? They just like it. It's just fun, or it's nice, or it's convenient. It makes me feel good. It doesn't matter if it's reflective of anything.
I know you're making a rhetorical point. That is a rhetorical question. What's the point of fact checking? I can answer your rhetorical question, which is the point of fact checking is so that not everyone is fooled. And that is all of politics. And Trump understands that. He's throwing a bunch of different contradictory statements out there at the same time with full confidence that he can hit those little pockets with each of them. The ones that, if it gets to someone who fact checks it, well, he's been BSing America since the beginning, so they probably have turned against him already. But in the meantime, maybe there's something like the Midas touch ad you played earlier that really sets up that Trump doesn't value certain human lives. That was not taken out of context. And it's all a challenge. And the reason that we fact check it is for moments like that. Now, there's also an important other step that the CNN reporter, who I think is utterly delightful, didn't do, which is to follow up and say, now, will you be better, or will you look into everything now? Like, now that one of the things you took for granted has been disproven, how will this change your behavior in the future? As opposed to doing something that I totally understand, and you do that in those interviews, which is he knows he's been had, he knows he's been embarrassed. What are you gonna do about it? Someone else in that same interview is this guy who's amazing, sounds just like Louis Anderson. And he's like, I don't know why I would follow anyone who doesn't agree with me. I got an abortion guy, I got an anti-abortion guy, I got a guy who loves Trump and a guy who loves beer. Why would I go with you guys? You just throw rocks at me. And it's like, I get it. Well, and that's something that makes, in the moment, it makes you feel good to call someone who you think is an idiot. But the trick of politics is to, and communication in general, is to find a way to communicate those ideas so that they don't feel like a total idiot, and they don't go back in their shell when you finally have an opportunity to communicate with them. And I know the next statement is, well, some of them are so far gone. Do you think, is there anything you can do to get through to these people? Well, we don't got to get through to all of them, but what's the harm in doing this on the margins through fact checking and things like this going viral?
So as I alluded to in the intro, I assure you that my point is not for us to just feel better than that person. I literally said, how many Americans are better? And I got news for you. It's not all right wingers. It's not all conservatives. The exact same problems and the exact same sort of real time defense mechanisms against learning and evolving, I think you can find across the political spectrum. It's a lot of what Twitter is, unfortunately. And I thought that you brought up a good point. That would have been a good follow-up question. Will you be better? Will you check things? But what do you think the honest answer is? And not just for him, but for the vast majority of people. I get it. There are some who might be a little bit better, although there's a difference between pointing out that someone has been had and actually training them to not be had in the future. Those are different things. But what that guy said was, when he first realized, and you can see in real time as he realizes, he says, well, I wouldn't have doubted it. But isn't that the problem? You didn't doubt it. You should have. If you had, you might not have believed something false. But his defense is to say, I wouldn't have doubted it. And I assume in the future also won't doubt it. Why? Because again, it doesn't matter that it's true. I had a good laugh. I can imagine it happening. But you wanted to live in the world where you weren't just imagining it happening, but it had actually happened. And do you really think that in a week, are you sure that he isn't going to claim that it happened? That some percentage of those who were fact checked won't claim that it happened? Eric Trump was just spreading like a day or two ago this fake thing, easily debunked, quickly debunked, that implied that that Biden during a town hall was reading off a teleprompter. It was 100% fake, but how many of his followers are ever gonna learn that? And if they do, will it actually matter?
Well, the answer to that is, I mean, all those things that you're like asking the question about and are like, what's the use? And I know it's not just you, but a lot of people like, what's the use? On the other side, Republicans see the use. They do it. They continuously find ways to, like I did that. I did a voiceover for Cambridge Analytica unknowingly 1,000 years ago. And I read like the copy, which was, we use psychographic data to get to to understand your users more than they understand themselves. And I was like, all right. And I didn't even read it until later. I found out it was Cambridge Analytica. But that's how they're doing it. They're absolutely doing it. They're finding ways to target audiences. And think about why. Like, think about the way the media landscape is driven. It's driven by Republicans, and this is provable. It's driven by a Republican media apparatus. The #1 social media post through the #5 every day are all right-wing outlets and maybe TMZ. That's it. Why? Because they share each other's stuff. Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire got in trouble and sort of trouble until they got let off on account of it, for essentially violating the terms of service to have a bunch of different outlets tweet the same thing at the same time.
Yeah,
they do that. It's ridiculous. The umpires in mainstream media essentially they play those clips and point out that people are mad at those clips. Is it ever that people are happy about the folks who are doing the right, decent thing? No, it's people who are mad at the demagogues on the right. And that's what drives our narrative. And not to mention Trump's rallies drive the narratives. Trump's tweets drive the narratives because it's easy. And the people in the center, the self-proclaimed unbiased media, who both sides things until it's dead, as well as people on the left, just aren't doing all that stuff. And they need to. So you need to have an apparatus that figures out how to micro-target things. Because those demagogues are, yes, as I said, reaching everyone who is elsewhere in the media. And in the meantime, they're just feeding a bubble of their own users who are sharing it to people who live near them and know them through pictures of their kids and growing that bubble. And that's what's so terrifying.
I'll leave it on that. I do want to make sure that we get to the garbage person of the week that has been nominated by Dragon Squad. It's been up for about a day on the community tab on the Damage Report YouTube channel. You can go every Thursday and vote. 13,000 of you did, and this week with 71% of the vote, a very strong showing. The GOP are garbage people for blatant hypocrisy in regard to filling a Supreme Court seat. That makes all the sense in the world. In second, you have Ron DeSantis at 16% for criminalizing protesting and also potentially legalizing running over protesters. At 10%, the Pentagon for funneling COVID money to defense contractors. And at 3%, the CDC for posting and then taking down COVID information, in particular about the possibility that it could aerosolize and transmit over longer distances than had previously been believed. So thank you to everybody who voted in that. There was a ton of you this time. I really do appreciate that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.